What's going on, everyone? Welcome to my Sarachnis PVM guide. I've included timestamps in the description below so you can skip any information that is less relevant to you. Sarachnis is the new spider boss located within the Forthos dungeon released on July 4th, 2019. Because this boss was released a short time ago, mechanics and strategies are subject to change. The boss itself is a mid-level boss aimed at players around 100 combat. The idea is that Sarachnis acts as a lower-level option for those who would like to learn boss mechanics. As such, the boss arena is non-instanced and multi-combat, allowing you and your friends to take it on in a group. This guide will mainly focus on what is needed to solo the boss. However, the required stats will be lower if part of a group. The first thing you need to know is where the dungeon is located and how to get there. The Forthos dungeon is entered through the Forthos ruin in western Hosidius on the continent of Zea. The following are a few transportation methods that will bring you near the entrance. Reading Lunch by the Lancaliums from Karetz's Memoirs brings the players to the river just northeast of the ruin. A Watson teleport to Watson's house west of the ruin. A Spirit Tree patch south of the ruin. A Skills Necklace teleport to the Woodcutting Guild south of the ruin. And lastly, what I find to be the simplest is using a Scroll of Redirection on a House teleport tab to bring you to the Hosidius House portal southeast of the ruin. This is a map of the dungeon itself. There are several paths to Sarachnis Lair, but this is the only one that you can use without completing tasks in the dungeon. Be aware that when you open the first door, it will lock behind you and cannot be opened without a key. Be sure to bring a slash weapon, as there are several spider webs blocking your path along the way. Now let's talk about the level requirements. Sarachnis itself is highly resistant to both magic and ranged attacks, so melee is the only viable way of killing it. Like many bosses, stat recommendations are highly dependent on what gear you have available to you. You can definitely kill the boss with base 70 stats, however 80 plus in melee stats is recommended for efficiency. One last thing you will need is at least level 43 prayer for the Protect from Range prayer and the Protect from Melee prayer. These are the stats of the boss. As you can see, it is the most vulnerable to crush attacks. However, stab and slash aren't too far behind. Using a non-crush weapon can still be a good alternative. Now for the gear itself. The optimal setup is to go for offensive bonuses, as most of the damage can be negated through prayer. This is what I've been using. If I had access to the Dwarven Helm and the Mythic Cape, they would be better because of the crush bonus they offer paired with my Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe. Obviously there are more upgrades to be made, but I think this is a decent budget setup. You can adjust your gear accordingly, however, I wouldn't wear anything weaker than Barrow's armor. This setup will also work just fine with a Kraken Tentacle or Abyssal Whip. The boss uses both ranged and melee attacks that can be blocked through prayer. The reason why I'm wearing a Carol's top is because Sarachnis will spawn two minions. One attacks with melee and the other with mage. You can wear a melee plate body, but ignoring the mage minion will cause damage to stack up quickly. I'll explain a little more about that in the strategies section. Let's move on to the inventory setup. First, you're going to want to have a spec weapon. The best choice would be a Dragon Warhammer or Bandos Godsword to lower the boss's stats. I personally like using a Saradomin Godsword to extend my trips. Other good alternatives include a Crystal or Dragon Halberd. You'll be praying for pretty much the entire fight, so I do recommend bringing a few prayer potions. Along with that, bring a superset and the best food you can eat. I personally brought Super Restores to use with brews for a hit point boost and Karambwan so I can combo eat. Lastly, I have Hosidius Teleport Tablet so I can return quickly, and a Dueling Ring so I can restore my stats and resupply at Clan Wars. Remember that each person will use different amounts of supplies. It will take a few trips to find out what works best for you. Now for the boss fight itself. Remember that the arena is multi-combat, so anyone can join in on the fight. Because the boss is new, you will often be crashed by other players, so be prepared for that. The boss has two main attacks, range and melee. Sarachnis will always melee you if you are adjacent to her. Any farther than that and she'll always hit you with range. With 400 HP and a max hit of 31, you're going to want to focus the most on praying the correct prayer. She has 3 special attacks that will be used throughout the fight. The first is Healing Strike, which is a standard attack that heals her, indicated by a pink hit splat. The second is a sticky web that she will throw around you that binds the player for about 3 seconds as she moves away to attack with range. The third and final attack are spawns. Sarachnis will spawn 2 smaller spiders who use magic and melee. I recommend that all lower level players kill the spawns as soon as possible. Because there is no limit to how many can spawn, you can be easily overwhelmed if the fight lasts too long. Make sure that you have auto retaliate turned off the entire fight, because there will be multiple monsters attacking you. If you have any specific questions of how the fight actually looks, I will put a clip at the end of the video of an entire kill so that you can see how the process goes. Last of all, we have the fun stuff, drops of interest. Sarachnis drops a wide array of skilling supplies and items, many of which are particularly useful to Iron Man. Each drop is worth anywhere from 5k to 150k. All monsters in the dungeon also have a chance to drop a grubby key, which can be used to open the grubby chest in the Forthos dungeon, similar to the crystal chest. Each key averages around to about 30k worth of loot. Sarachnis has a few unique drops as well. The first is a common drop called the Giant Egg Sack. When cut open with a knife, 100 red spider's eggs can be taken from it. When stored in the bank, all eggs will be immediately deposited. The next drop is a crush weapon called the Sarachnis Cudgel. Requiring 65 attack to wield, the stats place it somewhere above Vigora's chain mace and below the leaf-bladed battle axe. The last 2 drops are exceedingly rare, with the Jar of Eyes being similar to a jar of dirt or swamp, in that it can be used on a boss lair display in your house. The final drop is the boss pet named Sriracha, kinda like the hot sauce, cause you know, you'll be hot stuff showing it off. That's going to be the end of this guide. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you found this informative. This took a lot of work to put together, so please leave a like if you enjoyed. I also welcome any feedback of how I can improve in the comments below. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the next one.